until the day of judgment. I welcome you to this new episode of Dealings with the Glorious Quran. And today's topic is very, very important. The reason is, it is a dream for every Muslim to memorize the glorious Quran, to learn it by heart. And we know that there is so much virtue, there are so many blessings for learning the glorious Quran, reciting it, contemplating on it, and connecting with the glorious Quran on a permanent basis. And nothing is better than to put the glorious Quran in one's heart, because that is the greatest achievement a Muslim can do, because it's an honor to learn Allah's words and to repeat them and to have them inside your heart. Now, that is not a matter difficult, as some people would assume, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We, that is the majestic form, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we have made the Quran easy to remember. So is there anyone who is ready to remember? فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Obviously, we can do it. We can. I know there are individual differences among people. So one would memorize quick and fast. One would have a better memory than another. However, we need to memorize as much as we can, but we should not have our hearts empty from the glorious Quran. Let me say that there are some great rewards for anyone memorizing the glorious Quran. The glorious Quran will come on the day of judgment. And for those who have memorized it, the glorious Quran will say before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rabbi Hallihi, O my Lord, O my Rabb, give him some adornment, something great to wear, and he will be given the crown of karama, Tajul Karama. The crown of karama, crown of generosity and honor, will be placed on his head. Then the glorious Quran will say, Ya Rabbi Zidhu, O Allah, increase him in more of adornment and something great to wear, and he will be given Hullatul Karama. Hullatul Karama is a big, nice, beautiful dress of generosity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the glorious Quran will say, Ya Rabbi irda anhu, O Allah, be pleased with him. So Allah will be pleased with him, and it will be said to him, Iqra warqa walahu bi kulli ayatin hasana. Recite like you used to recite in this life, in dunya, and climb in higher degrees. For he will have a reward for every ayah he has recited. In another hadith, it will be said on the day of judgment for the memorizer of the glorious Quran, اقرأ وارقى ورتل كما كنت ترتل في الدنيا فإن منزلتك عند آخر آية تقرأها. Recite and climb and make the beautiful sound, warattil. That's as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran, warattil al-Qur'ana tartila. Recite in a beautiful and nice and correct manner. This is the way to recite the glorious Quran, and your position will be reaching as far as you memorize, and that would be climbing high until you complete the glorious Quran. That's why some scholars said the number of ranks and degrees in Jannah would be based on the number of ayahs in the glorious Quran. So the more you memorize, the higher you'll be in paradise. Who doesn't want this? Obviously, it is so important to look after this virtue. We know it is possible, alhamdulillah, especially for young people, those who have fresh minds. But even the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim, when they accepted Islam, some of them accepted Islam at an advanced age, yet they were able to memorize the glorious Quran or memorize part of it, some surahs, because don't leave your heart empty from the glorious Quran. Look at the value, for example, of Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al Imran. This is Surah Al-Baqarah, which is the second surah in the glorious Quran, and the third surah, Al Imran. Now they are the longest in the glorious Quran. Of course, Surah Al-Baqarah is 286 ayahs, and Surah Al Imran is 200 ayahs. The most important thing is that when you read these two, they are called Az-Zahrawan. These Zahrawan meaning the most beautiful, and they will come and defend anyone who have memorized them in this life. In fact, they will be shading the person, and a person on the Day of Judgment, when the sun is so close to people, they will be protecting their own memorizer from the sunbeams on the Day of Judgment, and he would be under their shade. كأنهما غيايتان أو غمامتان, as in the hadith, تحاجان عن صاحبهما. They will be arguing for you, they will be defending you, they will be interceding for you. What about the rest of the glorious Quran? All of the Quran is so good and a source of blessing, whether this is being from the beginning of the Quran, the middle of the Quran, or the end of the Quran. And no matter how you'd like to memorize it, just have the determination. Look at this. The value of those people will be great, even in this dunya, that people will honor any person who has memorized the Quran. Of course, he didn't memorize the Quran for people to say, you are a qari, or to put you forward. But Allah has put you forward, because if there are people who are there to pray, obviously the one to lead the prayer is the one who has memorized the Quran more. As in the hadith, يَأُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. So the first criterion for leading the prayer is the one who has more of the glorious Quran. Obviously, it has to be read correctly, understood correctly, and a person would have a beautiful voice in order to make people listen, make people behind him understand and be moved and influenced by the glorious Quran. In fact, when the Prophet ﷺ was burying the martyrs in the battle of Uhud, he was asking who has more of the Quran than the other. And if there are two people, the one who has more of the glorious Quran will be put first in the grave. So this is the value. And we know that by the grace of Allah, those who have more of the Quran will be respected, will have their lives put together, will have this shine on their face, the light of having the glorious Quran in their hearts. It will shine, of course, if that is done sincerely. And why not? Because they are the people of Allah. As in the hadith, إِنَّ لِلَّهِ أَهْلِينَ مِنَ النَّاسِ قِيلَ مَنْ هُمْ قَالَ أَهْلُ الْقُرْآنِ هُمْ أَهْلُ اللَّهِ وَخَاصَّتُهُ. The Prophet ﷺ said that for Allah are His own people among the large number of people. And it was said to the Prophet ﷺ, who are they? He said, Ahlul Quran, the people of the Quran, they are the special people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they are the ones who are very much close to Him. Ahlullahi wa khassatuh. He has distinguished them from among the rest of the people because they have memorized His book, they have attained His words in their hearts. Let me tell you this very fantastic story that I myself was told about when I met a teacher of the glorious Quran who used to teach in Yemen. Now, he told me this story some years back. As he said, in Yemen, I was teaching the glorious Quran, and I had this fantastic gentleman coming from Italy, learning the glorious Quran. Very interesting story. I'll tell you about it because I have to take a break, and I'll come back shortly. So please, stay around.
I'm your brother in Islam, Hussein Yi from Malaysia, and you are watching Peace TV, the solution for humanity.
A friendly message by Dr. Zakir. Islam prohibits killing of innocent human beings.
Every day, innocent human beings are being killed in different parts of the world. Most religions condemn the killing of innocent human beings. But Islam goes a step further and says in the glorious Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 32, if anyone kills a human being, unless it be for murder or for spreading corruption in the land, it would be as if he has killed the whole of humankind. It does not stop here, but continues. And if anyone saved a single human life, it would be as if he has saved the life of the entire humankind. Remember, please do not kill a single innocent human being, but rather save the whole of humankind by saving human lives.
Human life is precious. Peace TV, the solution for humanity.
Zain Bhika and Daud Wansby Ali.
Hey kids, time is very precious.
This life is a gift from Allah.
Utilize this gift for here and hereafter.
Enjoy this gift in the light of the Quran and Hadith.
Enjoy Islam with us, Zain and Dawood.
Enjoying Islam with Zain and Daud, next on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we are back. I know you've been waiting for this very fantastic and interesting story of that gentleman, a Muslim who came from Italy to learn the glorious Quran. In fact, his intention was to become a scholar in Islam, but at least he wanted to start with the glorious Quran, and that is the right start. Always, if you want to be knowledgeable about Islam, the first thing to do is to memorize the glorious Quran. Now that gentleman, I was told the story by his own teacher, who was an Egyptian living in Yemen, and he said, one day I was seeing off one of my friends at the airport at Sana'a, the capital of Yemen. And he said, I met two young people. One was seeing the other off. And these two young men were coming from Italy. One of them, after staying in Yemen for some time, said, I need to go back to Italy because I could not bear the circumstances. I could not live in a village. I could not accommodate to the new life, which was hard for him in Yemen. The other one was so determined to stay and learn the glorious Quran because they were both going to school in Yemen, and they wanted to learn the Quran because they wanted to go to other countries, but they could not. The only available choice to them was to go to Yemen. Now he said, well, if you're determined to go, will, inshallah, see you off, and you'll, inshallah, memorize, hopefully, in Italy. But the second one was so determined, he said, I will stay here. So he connected with this teacher. He said, come and you stay with me, and inshallah, it will be possible for you to learn the glorious Quran and to memorize it. Yes, he said, in 2 years, this new Muslim who came from Italy was able to memorize the glorious Quran and to learn it by heart. And he said he was very keen to do this on a daily basis. Nothing was keeping him busy than to indulge in memorizing the glorious Quran. His teacher was there to help him until he completed this in 2 years. He said when he was reading Surah An-Nas, the last surah and chapter in the glorious Quran, he said he came to me, and after he completed that, he made sujood, a shukr, prostration of thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what he did. And he said, my sheikh, I wanted to kiss your forehead and your knees and your feet. Please allow me to do that. He said, no, I can allow you only to kiss my forehead just as a sign of thankfulness. And he started to cry, saying how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored me. I was a lost person. I was wandering the streets of Italy. I had no purpose in life. And finally, Allah gave me the opportunity to have His words, to have His book here inside my chest. What a great honor. He started crying for this great privilege that he has attained by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how some people would appreciate having this so much, because they were determined. And among the young people of the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim, those who memorized the glorious Quran, such as Zayd ibn Thabit, Zayd ibn Haritha, Amr ibn Salama, Al-Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhum ajma'een. May Allah be pleased with them all, who were very much keen to memorize the glorious Quran. They wanted to do it. Let's see how we can start this, how we need to do it. Well, if there is a will, there is a way. First, you need to have ikhlas. You need to have sincerity in doing this. And it's easy. Just purify your heart. Have the intention that you want to be honored with Allah's book inside you, or at least part of it. At least part of it. Half of the glorious Quran, quarter of the glorious Quran, fifth of the glorious Quran, eighth, tenth, whatever is possible. 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, any amount. Because you'll be interested. If you get one, you'll be interested to have more. So that is the first thing, is to have the sincerity to do it for Allah's sake and to gain the rewards and to have that honor. Secondly, you need to have some techniques in order to help you with memorizing the glorious Quran. First, you need to read it correctly, because unless you read the glorious Quran correctly, you'll not be able to memorize it correctly. And one of the common mistakes for people who wanted to memorize the glorious Quran is, especially non-Arabic speakers, would be to memorize it, however, with some mistakes, and they will be with the person. As you read it, you'll memorize it. So unless you read it correctly, you'll not be able to memorize it correctly. So you have to have a teacher. You have to have someone who's very much qualified to teach the correct pronunciation of the glorious Quran, the correct tajweed, which is to do it. Alhamdulillah, now it is very much available either through tapes, very famous reciters of the glorious Quran who can recite it. You listen to them, you understand what they say, you repeat after them. In fact, there are tapes and recitations that were made especially for people to memorize or to learn how to recite. In fact, they will be given, for example, on video, or you'd find that on YouTube anyway. It will be something you'll be able to see and to know how to pronounce every letter, to articulate every particular letter and get it from the right place in your mouth. And you'd be able to pronounce difficult words, especially for non-Arabic speakers, difficult letters like ha or kha or ayn or similar ones, ha. You know, it will be easy to do that. Instead of saying alhamdulillah, you say alhamdulillah. And I know, because you have not used this when you were born and then raised, and it took some time before you are now introduced to Arabic. But alhamdulillah, for those who know and try and give it the most out of their own, they will be able to do it. And remember that for those who read the glorious Quran with difficulty and hardship, they will be having two rewards. One is for reading, and the second one will be for having difficulty to read it and pronounce it. So, secondly, after ikhlas and having the right teacher, what you need to do is be permanent. Do not try to just memorize today and forget tomorrow, because some people have that great interest, and as soon as they are encouraged to do it, they will say, I will be able to memorize, for example, half a juz a day, which is 10 pages. Well, you have to do little but continuously. This is very, very important. Even if you are so enthusiastic to do it and you think that you are able to do it, don't take much. Just try to have the same pace, which is like 1 page a day, 3 ayahs a day, 5 ayahs, half a page a day, depending on certain parts where, like particular a story or a group of ayahs dealing with the same topic, that would be a way. So you have to have someone to guide you, and you have to have a plan, and you can always do it with the determination. You'll be able to do that. And remember, the glorious Quran would be lost, even if you memorize it well, if you don't repeat it. And there is a wisdom in this, which is to make us connected with the glorious Quran at all times. Even those who have learned it in the youthhood, if they don't continue, and those who are Arabic speakers, still they would lose it if they don't continuously read it. In the hadith, إن القرآن أشد تفلتا من الإبل في عقلها. Look, when the camels are chained, they would be sitting, but as soon as you release them from their own chains, they will just run fast. And the Quran, even more than that, if you don't keep it, it will run away, because it's a very heavy saying, and it's very, very great and powerful. If you don't keep it, you'll lose it. Reviewing is important. Keeping what you memorize is very important. And I'll continue with this topic, inshallah, in the coming episode. Until then, I leave you with Allah's care and protection. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.